Okay, we have lined up the Greek text, my Greek text phrasing on the left, and Blomberg's English phrasing on the right from the Zondervan commentary. Let's look at verse 22. For you see that faith was working with his works. Now, this is a reference to Abraham back in verse 21. We phrased it last week. And the scripture says, the scripture was fulfilled, saying, Abraham believed God, and it was reckoned to him, it was counted to him unto righteousness, and he was called friend of God. All right, let's just take those two. First of all, we have the inference in 22, the inference that faith and works work together. And the sequence is that faith was made complete by works. Okay, and his argument is that they go together. He verifies this then with a quote from the Old Testament. As it was fulfilled, the scripture was fulfilled, which says, Abraham believed God, and it was counted to him as unto righteousness, and he was called friend of God. That brings us to our conclusion. Now, of course, that's simultaneous. These two are pretty much parallel. As it was written in the scripture, and it was counted unto him as righteousness, and he expands that thought, calling him friend of God. You see that by works a man was justified, and not by faith only. That's his conclusion. Works and faith go together. Verse 25 is parallel to verse 21 appear from last week, where he asks the question, was not Abraham justified by works? Likewise, was not Rahab the harlot from her works justified or made righteous? And the means is when she welcomed the messengers, and the sequence, she sent them out another way, protecting the spies. So we have two examples. You have Abraham, and then you have Rahab. And then he gives us, in verse 26, an illustration that ties back to his argument that just as the body without the spirit is dead, his conclusion then, so also faith without works is dead. So they go together, and you can see I chose to break out the two illustrations, Abraham and Rahab, that Abraham's faith led to salvation, and then he demonstrated his salvation by offering Isaac, and this earned him the position of being called God's friend. And Rahab, her salvation leads to works. So in other words, her faith in God led her to work for God when she welcomed the strangers, the spies, and she sent them by another road whereby she protected them. The conclusion then in verse 26, which we've marked with our semantic tagging, that faith without works is dead, and then the two analogies, a body without spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead.